The war started for us in that part of what was then Poland in 1939. And let me get it straight, that we were then experiencing some attacks of German planes on the town of Krzemieniec. But right at that moment, there was a pact made between Hitler's Germany and Stalin's USSR. So they divided Poland. And a part of Poland in which I was growing up ended up being officially Ukraine. They made a kind of a sham voting, plebiscite. Supposedly we voted, and of course 100% everybody agreed to be happy Soviet Russia, Soviet Ukraine. So but officially by early 1940 we were officially Ukraine and Poland was forgotten.
And you became Ukrainian again, right?
Became Ukrainian citizen. And at that point I was of course a member of a Soviet-run school. Because of that, the principal was a commissar of some kind. And I remember him, I vividly remember Mr. Pinchuk telling me, Bonstedt, you're such a good student. Why do you go to church? You know you should come and listen to our party and be convinced to come back to us. I kept my mouth shut because that's how you survived in those days. I could have become a martyr, I guess, and that wasn't it. But anyway, I kept my mouth shut. Some kids did not keep their mouth shut and they did not survive. Those were mostly Polish kids who were transported to Kazakhstan, Lord knows where. They mostly never came back. I had this guy from UNRWA providing sponsorship because he already was in Detroit working in a factory, car factory. And the other fellow was a co-student from medical school, Andrews Guta, who had a sister in Potsdam, Pennsylvania. Sister was married. The situation in the church there, his brother-in-law was a cantor of some kind, music director. And that was the reason why I ended up in Pennsylvania as sponsored by these people with just $20 in my pocket in May 1950, and that's where I met Dorothy, because it happened that by that time, just as I finished my medical school, she just finished her nursing school. It was difficult to find a job in the hospital, but eventually, by going around asking a lot of questions, I found this hospital in Potsdam, not far from where my friend was living, where they could use me as some kind of a junior intern. It was not very official, I had no license, but they accepted me, and for 6 months I worked there, and during those 6 months, in September of 1950, she graduated as an RN, registered nurse. And a funny story goes with that. My English was still kind of poor at that time, and I was really interested in her, sort of dating her a little bit. And I was trying to give her a nice card to congratulate for graduation. And so I chose a card that said on it, sympathy. Because in the European languages that I knew, sympatia was romantic interest. You may know that.
Right, sympatia, my sympatia.
So she gets that card to this day, says, what was he trying to do to me to give me a sympathy card because I graduated? I had to go to Illinois. I left for Peoria, had my internship, and I corresponded with her. So by September of 1951, I had planned a nice vacation on a beautiful spot on Lake Erie. I don't know if you know it. It's called Putin Bay Island. It's it's a fairly large island, not far from Clinton, Ohio, not far from Toledo, Ohio. And so I invited her to come along with me. And she agreed. And to this day we say tell people, believe it or not, we slept in separate bedrooms. So one of the social workers says, well, maybe that's why your marriage has lasted for 61 years. Looking back, the happiest time was, of course, when children were growing up. That, without question, at that time, I maybe did not think of it in these terms. I just kept busy raising them and enjoying the little vacations together, whatever, the activities we had together. But right now, looking back, that's one of the most pleasant memories, probably for you too, I guess. She wrote a lot of things in my diary, which I still have here with me. In those days, we used to keep little diaries where kids would sign a little something and sign their name. It used to be in the grade school, and the mother would write that stuff time and again. Some kind of wise pearls of wisdom. Of course, it goes back to the family again. Young kids learn by looking around, watching, and the kid, as he grows up, he can see his parents taking care of themselves, or of him, or of others. And it's constant watching observation. I remember the old Ukrainian fable. I was still a kid this talking. They were telling me a fable of how a little kid like that was making a little bowl out of clay. And so they asked him, why do you do this, make this bowl? And he said, well, that's so I can, when you grow old, I can make it for you to feed you where you feed Grandpa over there in the corner. Grandpa was sitting in the corner forgotten, you know. And religion is, of course, great, because religion promises you that benefit not just here, but in hereafter, which is a separate issue by itself. Becomes important when you get into hospice, or when you're told you have only 6 months to live, that kind of stuff. You have to have something outside of yourself that you're willing to live for.